I want you to get together.
Crazy stuff. And you're just like zombies and portals. They talk about zombies and portals. You would be it would kind of correlate with your work pretty well. I feel like
Hmm.
you should buy that book because
Maybe.
you would probably be able to tie it together. Like, these are probably Nephilim, like
Well,
no crap.
send me links to all these that book's
Yeah.
name and everything on
Yeah.
Instagram, and I'll definitely look
Yeah.
into these things.
Interesting.
I know my wife will be interested as well for sure,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
learn
Of
the story.
course.
But
So weird.
it's what can you give me a bit more insight of the history of Mormonism, their history of
Mm-hmm.
Mormonism in America? Like you were talking
Mm-hmm.
there about they have the angels and a war that happened in
Yeah.
America. What is that? That sounds like a biblical epic
Well,
translated
and
into
they,
the lands of America. What's
yeah.
that about?
They say it happened, but there's no proof that it happened. So the angel Moroni, which is up on top of every temple, the little gold guy,
Hmm.
he came to Joseph and told him all this,
Right.
supposedly. This angel came and said this, and I do think he saw an angel. Most people think he's high on drugs or something, but I think he was channeling because of all the knowledge he knew and the occultic stuff that he was into. I think that he channeled. I think he knew.
Mm.
And if he didn't know and it was a pleasant accident for him, whatever. But then this angel said, well, go get these plates and they'll have the history of our people. And this is going to be your new Bible. And like, this will, you got to translate it and blah blah blah. And so that's what happened. And then he told a bunch of people about it and how it came to be. And they made fun of him. They made a satire book. Like, honestly, it didn't take off at first. It really did not. It would not have made it had they not martyred or killed him. But
Mm.
they martyred him so bad. Every time he turned around, they'd be building these temples to do this stuff and the masonry and all that. And he got his own followers. Well, he ended up with so many people that he had a damn army. He had an army. And the government, the actual government, was scared that he would overtake them. And
Mm.
so he was worried about, let me tell my husband this, he was worried about them and they were worried about him. And so they turned it around and said, well, basically get out or stop doing polygamy or we're going to take all your stuff. And so they went to Utah and they were like, screw this, we'll just go to Mexico because it's all Jesuit owned. And then they became part of the union with Utah with
Mm.
that purchase. So they were like, and so they were like, we're just going to leave you alone, but you can't keep doing this and doing this. So that was why the president of the church then said, look, if you guys keep it up, they're going to come and take the state. They're going to kill us all. They're going to take everything anyway. And then we're just going to be dead. And so then half of them said, okay, we'll cut it out. And the other half were like, no, you're a false prophet. And that's where the polygamists branched out and went that way.
Mm.
And then the regular Mormons became the mainstream and followed the rules of the land. And that became like part of their rules is you have to obey the rules of the land. And so that was kind of how he got out of it. He was like, I can't do anything about it because it's not my fault, and they're
Mm.
like, okay, yeah, right. But, they'd already gone through so much. They had been ran out of multiple states. Like they started in Illinois. Okay, they went in New York. They ran them out of New York. Then they went to Illinois. They ran them out of Palmyra. They ran them out of there. Like they were kind of getting tired of this. And then at the end, they ended up pulling hand carts across the plains in the middle of almost winter, and a bunch of them died. And so the people that did survive were like, listen, I'll give up my 10 wives. Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm not moving again. Like, they were just over it. They were like, this is too much because they had had the temple finished. Like, everything was going. And so they were like, we're not doing this again. No way. And so that's when they broke off. But also when Joseph Smith died, there was another branch that broke off called the Reformed LDS Church. And they actually went bankrupt and the church just bought a whole bunch of their church relics, which is super interesting.
Mm.
If you can't get relics, you can buy some.
Well,
But
yeah.
but they believe like Jackson County, Missouri is actually the Garden of Eden. They'll tell you this, that's where we're going to go in the end days. And that if you see a temple built in Jackson County, Missouri, then the end of the world is happening. And they think
Mm.
the end of the world's always happening. Like they're preppers. They have 2 years worth of food at all times. Like they're super crazy that way, which is good. I mean, I get that, but not really for end of days God wise. I think that's going to be a whole different thing, but problems in the world I could see,
Mm. There is
they've always
there
told
is a
them.
strong not I wouldn't say strong, but there is this common theory I'm always hearing in the conspiracy circles about America being the true Holy Land.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
all
that's what they
what
say.
you see going on in the Bible, these places that are being described, are
Mhm.
actually in America, not in the Middle
In
East where we've been
Florida.
told.
Yeah.
And it's
Dr. Longo,
yeah.
Dr. Narco Longo. Yes, I know his work.
So
I
what
mean,
does that have origins in this Mormon base of thinking? Is it?
so
I don't
so
really know.
people are always texting me and saying, "Don't you think it's weird that all this stuff happened supposedly in Florida?" And it's kind of similar with what Joseph Smith said happened with the Nephites and the
Mm,
Lamanites. And I didn't get into that because the Lamanites are like cursed skin and they're brown, and then the Nephites are like good, so they're white and delightsome. And so it's a whole big thing. I didn't want to go down that road because the racism in the church is like a whole episode on itself. But so he said this is like the war of this world here. And people always say, do you think it has to do with that happening there because it was tablets versus, Anunnaki with the emerald tablets versus he had tablets, golden tablets. And so I'm like, I could see it. It seems like a stretch to me. And they never correlate it because the church will not. The church would not delve into that on $1 million bet because they're just going to say, well, whatever Joseph Smith said, which is basically New York area. He was up there. And then that Palmyra, the hill Cumorah. And that's basically all they'll comment on. I've never heard them talk about the Anunnaki or like anything like that, but I do know that they talk about spirits.
mm.
And that's why when he said he saw 26 apparitions, including John the Baptist, Jesus Christ himself, God himself, like all these people. And then they turned around and said it had nothing to do with the Vallow case because they don't believe in reincarnation. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Like, I think they believe that things can come back and obviously talk to people, or their whole religion is bullshit. Because
Mm,
if you take out Moroni, then what do you got?
mm.
Nothing. He's the angel that told him. So he said he once lived there, that he was an angel now. So I don't know if they're saying like, was he translated? Like, I don't know.
Is that
You
trying to was
know.
that trying to lay the foundation maybe for a church which can preach the idea that you all become angels if you pay enough money,
Mhm.
or you get into super heaven, or you did the right rituals or something? Like we all become
Well,
angels eventually, or I suppose
and it makes
that's
you
the sons
wonder.
of God
Yeah.
argument, maybe, isn't it? Like the sons of
Mhm.
God used to be human and became angels or something. And I'm
Mhm.
trying to imagine how they would play this out from a cultist perspective. And
From
is
a
it?
cult from a cult perspective, I would say if you get in the inner echelon and you're at the very top of the quorum of the 70, like I was telling you, I could see them being just like regular Masons and being like, forget everything. This is the truth. Because
Yeah.
they do that all the time. And
Mm,
so maybe that's why I say I'm so curious, but no one leaves after that high. No one. I've never seen one of the quorum of the 70 denounce.
mhm.
They die first. They're old. They're old. They make sure they're old so that if there's a problem in the youth, then oh well for them. But by the time you're old and scared of your own death, you're not going to leave then. You're
Mm.
definitely not leaving when you're 75 and thinking you're going to die tomorrow. Like, what if you're wrong?
I think it's either by that point you're either an asset or a liability because you
Hmm.
know too much.
Yep.
So they're not
Yep.
going to let you become a liability. Either you're useful
No.
to us or you're dead.
Yep. You're not.
There's
Yep.
no point having you around. You're too
And
risky. Yeah.
and the big thing is here in America, at least, one of the number one recruits for the FBI are Mormon men. So that's very fascinating to me because obviously they would have insiders that probably could take people out. And if it's an old dude that's like 75, and you and I both know they have like heart attack freaking. My uncle was a Green Beret. They have heart attack darts. He's told me he was a airborne special forces, blah blah blah. He has like 100,000 medals, whatever. He jumped out of airplanes into Secret Service stuff. Like he was crazy. And he told me, yeah, we have stuff like that. It's just like a little blow dart thing, and it gives him a heart attack. It's not that
Mm.
difficult. He's like, it's pretty easy actually. He's like, it's not even a synthetic drug. It's like some toad thing. I don't know, some poisonous toad. And I'm like, that's weird. And he's like, well, they can't check it. Like they're not going to check for that. It's some weird thing. And I'm like, that's really weird that they would, you know, have so many insiders, right? Like, then they're not going to check an 80-year-old guy if he dies. They're going to be like, he had a heart attack. He freaking died. Who cares? Like, they're not. Unless you're under 40 in America, you don't have an autopsy unless your family wants it. You're not going to, they're just going to say, we don't know. If they're under 40, they will. Like, my brother had to have one and the wife had to have one, or no, she didn't, because she was known to be sick.
I can
She had
imagine.
issues.
I can imagine when you get to that top. What's the council called? Something of the 70 again. How do you say that?
Quorum, the quorum of the
The
70.
quorum of
Yep.
the 70. I imagine if you end up in there, I'm guessing even that has a head.
Oh, for sure.
They're not all just heads. Even that's a pyramid of some kind,
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine it's a kind of, okay, you come in now, and now you have a free pass. You can sin and do whatever you want, and you're still getting into heaven. Don't worry about it. But I imagine then all the members who are in this 70 group do sin, do horrible
Mm-hmm.
things, probably give in to all the deepest, darkest demonic urges,
Mm-hmm.
and then blackmail. Okay, now we have this
Mm-hmm.
on you. Okay, that's how it
Yep.
works. That's how
I'm sure.
that's
I'm
how it works in
sure.
Freemasonry. It's like, okay, now we recorded you doing that. We now have it on video. You doing those horrible things to children. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now you have to do what we tell you now.
Yes.
It was a
Yep.
trap. The whole
I'm
thing was a
sure of
trap. It
it.
was like, let's tell them they can do whatever they want, and then when they do it, we'll blackmail them with that and say
Yes.
that was a
Yep.
trap. That was a trap. You know,
Or
and it's kind of
make them do it, like, say, you're going to go on a secret mission to kill this guy, blah, blah, blah. And maybe they really do need him dead. But if their hands are clean, he's expendable. It's easy. And that's what people don't get is, like, even if they were a pretty good guy and say you just got like swooped into it and they didn't do any stuff or anything, but they were like, you need to help us because this guy's ruining the church and he's a big deal or whatever, then I could see it happening 100%, because no one's going to question some old guy if he dies. They're just going to be like, he died. He had pneumonia. He was sick. They got so many doctors and lawyers, and like, these are the upper echelon people in general. These guys aren't like the prophet of the church. He's a freaking surgeon. Like, he's not some Joe Schmo. I've never seen him have a Joe Schmo either. And like the one before that, well, two ago, Thomas S. Monson, he was involved in one of my other cases on Patreon with freaking Nazis. And so I'm like, I don't put it past any of them anymore. You know, it's crazy. The stuff you find out, the more you dive deep into it, you're like, holy, how did I believe this for so long? And people always say to me, you're so smart. You seem smart. Why? How? I'm like, shh, you don't get it. It's your whole family. It's your whole identity as a human being. Literally everything.
I want you to get together